Hi everyone, today we were going to take you through the inversion table and give you some tips or some advice that you can use while assembling the inversion table. Just like any fitness equipment or any other equipment that you can purchase that comes in flat pack boxes, we always recommend not to tighten all the bolts unless you have assembled the full machines. Say for an example, when you're assembling this inversion table, if you already tighten up all these sides, you will have hard time lining these bolts. Or if you have tightened up all these bolts around the corner, you're going to have hard time lining these bolts, because if you tighten on a slight angle, all these bolt holes and the bolts, they are not going to line up properly. So what we recommend, the main frames, they are already solid frames. But once you assemble it, do not tighten the bolts, keep them a bit of a loose for some movement. And once you assemble the whole machine and all the bolt holes has gone through with a bit of adjustment, you should be able to tighten the bolts at the end of it. Now with the inversion table manual, all the bolts, they are marked in numbers, but in terms of the packing, there might be some confusions. So firstly, we have taken the pin out, which is suitable for adjustability. This is where this pin goes. Now, as you can see, it says 3 pieces of these bolts here, but because of the lack of room, they had to move these 3 bolts. So you have 1, 2, and a third bolt. So these are the M6 16mm bolts in 3 pieces. So even though it is marked here, you will not find them right next to it. And we apologize if it creates any confusion on your part. Secondly, you can see that M8 55 bolts, 4 pieces, arrow pointing downwards. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you have M8 50mm bolts, 3 pieces. It will be the other 3. 1, 2, and 3. Now, as you can see, the other bolts here, it says 40, 45. These are the 2 other pieces and all your nuts, and they're separate. In terms of the locking pin or the ball pin, you have 2 different sizes. Now, this size is the longer pin that you use for the foldable mechanism of the inversion table. So if you come with me to the inversion table, as you can see, this is the long pin. So you can quickly take in and out for adjusting the inversion table. So when you're using the inversion table and you want it fixed, keep the pin in. When you want to fold it away, take the pin out and you can easily fold it away. When you want to use it back on again, fold it back out, and then you just put the pin in the place. This is the first pin. Second pin, you'll notice, it's a smaller size pin. Now this pin is used for the locking part of your feet. Now this is not a compulsory pin that you have to use. Say for an example, you have somebody assisting while you're using the inversion table. The locking lever has these holes where it lines up, and if you have somebody assisting you, only if somebody's assisting you, then you can lock this in place when you're using it, or when you're folding it away, keep it nice and tidy, you can keep that in place. Otherwise, if you're using it by yourself, we will highly recommend and we will suggest strongly not to use this pin at all. Otherwise, you'll not be able to unlock yourself off the inversion table. Once again, in terms of the assembly and the bolt pack, what we will recommend, take the bolt pack out, just count out the number of bolts you have and put them aside, and then cross-check them. Say for an example, it says M6 16mm bolts. Find those bolts and mark them off and put it aside, and then go through each one just like that to make sure you have received all the bolts, and that'll give you a better indication when you're assembling the inversion table. If you have any more queries about this product or any other products, please visit us at www.worldfitness.com.au. Now we will take you through a quick review of how the inversion table is assembled.